to Business on B2BWR.ca, brought to you and powered by the Waterloo Regional Health Network Foundation. And I am joined for this show, as all shows, by my old friend, Greg DeRocher. He, of course, is the president CEO of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce, and I'm Ian McLean, president CEO of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce. And Greg, it's an exciting new chapter for us. We're on this new platform doing this show, and we've got so much to be thankful for here in Waterloo Region. Great stories to tell. Lots happening in the community, from business related and healthcare and supporting small business, but also there's festivals. There's all kinds of things happening, and we're going to tell those stories each and every week.
Yeah, and I can't wait until we get the video up and running, because we are going to have the show video live over YouTube, because people will then be able to see the gray hairs that you've given me over the 700 plus shows or episodes of Business to Business we've done over the year. But
you know what, Greg, I think the one thing that we're lucky that we've had those 700 shows as practice. Because as we know, we definitely have faces for radio, but because we have to move into
but more importantly, it's taken 700 shows of practice for you to get it right.
No, well, I still screw that up, but now we got a slight bit of confidence that we can actually put our mugs out there. But it's the modern age; we have to show ourselves. So I'm looking forward to the YouTube coming on as well. But tell us who's on the show this week. It's a full show. We got lots on the go.
We have a great show, Ian. I think, of course, we're going to be welcoming back Joel-Denis Bellavance, the Ottawa Bureau Chief for LaPresse. He's been on a vacation hiatus for the last 6 or 7 weeks. So we're excited to get him back on the show because, as you well know, he does a fantastic job at educating not just me, Ian, but the both of us and our listeners as well. We are also with him. We're going to have the Honourable Perrin Beatty on. Of course, he's the previous president and CEO of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. We like to introduce him as the prime minister we never had, but
best prime minister we never had. And two of our favorite guests, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. They're great guests, and of course, Perrin is now leading a Canada U.S. Organization on trade, and he's got an important report that they've just released the other day. So he's going to talk a little bit about that. And of course, we've got our good friend Charlene Hofbauer from the Workforce Planning Board of Waterloo, Wellington, Dufferin, who also operates a tiny little program, but it's getting a lot of traction. That's WINWR. That's the Workplace Immigrant Network of Waterloo Region. So, without further ado, Ian, why don't you introduce Charlene to our listeners?
So Charlene's been the CEO of the Workforce Planning Board of Waterloo, Wellington, Dufferin. We've worked together for many years on the the Immigration Partnership of Waterloo Region. Took a lot of time, and maybe just quickly, Charlene, as we start this, the evolution of WINWR was, how do we connect small business in particular and immigrants, which is many of those are going to be our workforce of the future. We took a lot of years to come up with this program, and we're so lucky that your organization hosts this and it is bringing that connection between business and immigrants. And yesterday, I was pleased to be part of your Workforce is Changing Now What employer conversation, which I thought was very useful. We had employers from manufacturing and HR and others that are working with folks. But great to have you on the show, and tell us a little bit about WINWR and the evolution of it, and then we'll dig into some of the things that you're working on now.
Yeah, so WINWR was a brainchild of the Immigration Partnership of Waterloo Region. It was something that they put together a group, and they're like, we want to do something that's kind of like a hub for immigrants and employers to connect and make those really quick integrations into Canadian society and into Canadian labor force. And that was 5 years of research, if I remember correctly. It was kind of started as I was leaving here, and then as I came back, it was still going on. I'm like, wow, we've been talking about this for quite a while. And then I got on board, and it was like, okay, so we kind of have this idea now. Where do we house it? And then I got approached to house it, which makes a lot of sense. We deal with both sides of the labor market, and we are in year 4 of implementation. Wow. So it's really exciting that it's taken us a while, 9 years to get here, but we have something now, and it's focused on professional immigrants, and then how do we get them into those jobs that move beyond survival, and how do we get employers?
And even as we look at, the economy's, it's a tough one, but what we can say is when the economy picks up, we will need newcomers to this country to fill the jobs that are going to be the jobs of the future. I mean, as well as those that are born here in Canada, but we need both. And this is not a choice. This is a reality that Canadian business is going to have to face.
I think with the big challenge right now is probably that we've got a lot of, we've got a bit of a stagnation on immigration coming into the country, but we also have a problem of the boomers, the last of the boomers now, vacating their positions. And, we have not done a really good job of reproducing ourselves over the years. So we're going to rely or depend on immigration forward in order to maintain our economy, let alone grow our economy. So, Charlene, why don't you give us, you've always got some great programs coming up for in WIN, great programs for employers. Tell us a little bit about what's happening now.
Yeah, so we're really focusing right now on our customized solutions model. So this is like if you're an employer and you're thinking, okay, let's talk about that potential future growth, or you're looking to merge into a market like, say, nuclear or aerospace, and so you're retooling yourself a little bit and you're going to need people. We have the great opportunity where we can help you make sure you've got the recruitment and retention processes in place to capture all the talent. So, we're doing things like revamping onboarding materials. It's funny, we did one for one organization, and our question was, do your summer students ever ask you questions? They're like, no, they don't. We're like, yeah, we get it, because it's so filled with your jargon that my high schooler couldn't get through that onboarding book. So we eased the process, right? Like, make it easy to read, make it accountable, make it so they understand the organization, so they can ask you questions instead of like kind of drift. So that's an example of like one thing we do. We review job postings. We make sure you're compliant with the new stuff that's come out for the Working for Workers legislation. We don't provide legal advice, but we're like, hey, this is a requirement. Are you meeting that requirement? So it's that really check-in base for an employer who's like, yeah, are my systems really going to get me the people I want? Especially if you're looking for specialized talent. If the big challenge there. And we offer some internal training as well. That there's a small price attached to that one, I'll be honest. But, how do you make sure you've got great communicators who can communicate with everyone? How do you make sure that your processes are working? So it's that real, how do I make sure that I'm putting my best foot forward? Because as we grow again, it's going to be a marketing challenge and to market yourself to the best talent, right? So that's kind of what we're doing right now. And so we're very excited to offer those free customized services for those small businesses that don't have an HR person.
And I guess I wanted to go back to that because, I mean, everyone is looking for support, especially in small business. And that's why our members, we have internal programs like peer-to-peers and business or smaller groups and committees to do self-help. But this is one of those services available to anybody, any small business. And where do they find you so that they can at least have a phone call and say, hey, I'm thinking of hiring. When you say onboarding materials, like they can ask the questions and get more of a feel from you and your staff of, here are the things that we can help you with and spend some time with you, which is a free service for small business. That's going to be really important. How do people find you?
Yeah, so they can start their journey with www.winwwd.ca. We have two sections. One's for job seekers, one's for employers. You click the employer, kind of gives you some of the things we're offering. It tells you about our workshops, because we do offer workshops, although I'm here talking about the customized. But and it lets them know like how they can get involved, and then it gives them, okay, here's your point of contact. So they can just start by checking out the website and then clicking on the employer tab.
So, Charlene, we're well on the way through the summer. We've had, the heat waves going on. We've had a wonderful summer, actually, at this point. You must be working really hard to get the fall programming up and running as well.
We are I think our first winter or fall event is September 23rd. So if someone is interested, you can check out our website. The events are listed as well. We do job seeker and employer ones, but the employer ones are really, really key. And networking sessions. I haven't even mentioned the networking sessions. So
Yeah.
check that out as well, because those are fantastic. It's not about jobs, it's about you as an employer helping people figure out their pathway in Canada, which is rewarding in its own sense. And we've had really great feedback on those. But yeah, we're getting ready. And I think our first kickoff one is in September.
Wow.
That's great. Listen, you always got great information, and for anyone listening, winwwd.ca is the place to find the information, and contact Charlene and her team, which is a great resource for small businesses as to navigate through your workforce of the future, which is going to change. It's going to change for all of us, and it already is. So listen, always great to have you with us. We appreciate the partnership you have with us here on the show, and we appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, well, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll be back with more on Business to Business on b2bwr.ca, powered by the Waterloo Region Health Network Foundation.
The Waterloo Regional Health Network Foundation is innovating healthcare every day in the Waterloo region. It is our collective responsibility to support our hospitals so that they can have the equipment necessary, not only to care for us, but to inspire the best and brightest healthcare minds to come and make a home right here in the Waterloo region. You may not need them today, but there will be a day when we all do. Reach deep if you can and give generously.
This segment of Business to Business is sponsored by the Workplace and Immigrant Network of Waterloo Region, a project by the Workforce Planning Board of Waterloo, Wellington and Dufferin, bringing employers and employees together.
Welcome back to Business on b2bwr.ca, powered by the Waterloo Region Health Network Foundation, investing healthcare in Waterloo Region. We are joined by two of our absolute favorite people. In fact, I believe that it's a coin toss on who's appeared more. No, JD actually has appeared more, but Perrin Beatty is got to be a close second as two of our most prolific guests on Business to Business. We are joined by JD Bellavance, back from his northern summer vacation, the Ottawa Bureau Chief for LaPresse, and we are joined by the Honourable Perrin Beatty, co-chair of the expert group on Canada-U.S. relations, and our former boss, Gregory, the former CEO of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. And we're going to talk in the next couple of, we're going to do a couple of segments. One is catching up on Canada, tariffs, U.S., more related on our aspect of it, but then also talk about a report that Perrin and his group released, and the importance of what we can take from that moving forward. And so it's great to have our two friends back to make you smarter, as they always do make you, Gregory.
Perrin, welcome back. It's been a while since we've had you on, but always wonderful to have you on. And of course, JD, welcome back from holidays.
Good to see you all.
Yeah.
Thanks, Greg.
Listen, JD, you've been away, but I know in fact, we had a little discussion before everybody else popped on, and you said you've been basically living with an ear bug in connected to the radio so that you can hear the news coming out of Ottawa. Give us some of the highlights and some of the things that maybe haven't really made it to the surface yet, but things that we need to be interested in and paying attention to.
Well, the political dynamics is still quite the same, meaning that the Carney government is quite popular. I think it remains to be seen whether that's going to continue. But the big news, obviously, is the threats of more tariffs from the United States. And that happened a few days before the premiers were meeting the Council of Federation with the Prime Minister. And we should be happy to see that there is still unity around the table among the premiers and the Prime Minister about the approach Canada should take facing these threats from the United States. I'm a bit worried because the kind of tariffs that was modeled and announced and could take effect on August the 19th is a way to sort of divide the provinces, because the provinces of Ontario, Quebec, where the manufacturing industry is more located, are more targeted by those tariffs, whereas the energy, which is Alberta, Saskatchewan, and are not much affected. So you could see some provinces like Ontario wanting to have a dollar for dollar hit back against Washington in the United States, while Danielle Smith of Alberta and Scott Moore from Saskatchewan do not want to, antagonize further Donald Trump. So there's a danger there. And so the challenge for me that I see for Mr. Carney is to make sure that Canada remains Team Canada around this issue, because it's critical that every premier and the prime minister, they go in the same direction, because that's how we're going to go through this economic turbulence that the United States is throwing at us.
Well, just what Perrin, maybe pick up on that. I think one of the things that I thought I heard coming out of their meetings in PEI was there seemed to be a consistency that they knew where the red lines were, where they would fracture the provinces, and energy is one of them. I think yesterday, late last week, whatever day it is, maybe Thursday or Wednesday, the prime minister said, look, we're not going to cut off energy. That's not one of the things. There are lots of other things. And I believe he used the phrase where we all agree. So there are some, you get a sense that the Council of the Federation, which is all the province and the prime minister, have a game plan if we need to take that next step?
I'm not sure whether they have the full game plan agreed to at this point, but what there is a consensus that, as Joel-Denis was saying, we have to be Team Canada. There has to be unity at the end of the day. And the other thing is that there's a strong growing consensus within the country, and I think it's reflected by the premiers as well, that you can't just allow yourself to be bullied. You have to be prepared to push back, even if there's a cost involved. But you have to do it intelligently. You don't do it in a way in which the cost to you is greater than the cost to Donald Trump.
What is the cost, though, Perrin, from right now? Like, obviously we kind of know on the surface, but this seems to never end. I think Canadians are now getting to the point where they're literally they can't wait for the midterms to happen in the United States. And I don't ever remember anybody paying attention to the midterms in the United States, certainly if you were Canadian. But what is the pain going forward? If Donald Trump doesn't lose the Senate, we've got 2 more years of hell ahead of us from this perspective. Would you not agree with that?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things the PM has to do is be very candid with Canadians. Things are likely to get worse before they get better. And we also should be very careful about wishful thinking. The assumption is somehow you get rid of Trump, the Democrats come in, and the tariffs go away. That wasn't our experience last time. And what you have is politicians on both sides who are addicted now to the revenues the tariffs have brought in, to spending them. And if they were to abolish the tariffs, they would have to find other sources of revenue. Not a fun thing to do. So I think the first thing is we have to be brutally honest with Canadians that this is not an easy time, and it won't be for the foreseeable future. But if we hang together, we can build something that is much better than we've had.
I agree with that assessment. And also I would add that Mr. Carney will have to make sure that he calls for patience, because it's going to take a while before we do have the diversification of markets, new markets for our economy. The trade deals that he's been signing with other countries will take time before they bring the dividends. And we know that Dominique LeBlanc, the minister responsible for Canada-U.S. commerce, was in Washington last week to try to find a solution to the and try to make sure that the threats of 50% more tariffs on many products, up to 20 billion more products coming from Canada, does not take effect. Well, I would say that I'm not that optimistic that a deal will be found before August 19th. I think we should prepare for the worst, because dealing with Donald Trump, at the end of the day, he's the one who has the final word. And while Mr. Dominique LeBlanc was in Washington, he was again attacking Canada, attacking Mexico, attacking CUSMA, saying we don't need that. we need to have the United States more independent from those countries. So there is, this is the kind of a line that he's giving to the negotiators from the United States dealing with Dominique LeBlanc. So I'm not optimistic that we'll find a solution before August 19th.
JD, I mean, you just came back from holiday, so you've been away a little bit, but so a little different perspective out of the Ottawa bubble. But I mean, we said before we went on, the sense that I get from our members that I speak to, but also broadly in the community is people are, and I think Perrin, you said it, people are tired of being bullied, and they're prepared, I think, to put up with pain. You talked about, like, what are we preparing and are we settling or setting up the broader community, not just business, but the broader community of saying it's going to get worse until for a while before it gets better. I mean, do you think that consensus can hold while the evolution of the economy comes? I just feel like it's there. I've never seen people who are so angry. They're hurt, they're offended. And I think the one thing is, for most of us, when you see bullying, you want to stand up to it and say, not going to tolerate it, because we all see it. And that's what's happening here. But do you see that consensus can hold?
I believe so, because we've seen the kind of Canadian patriotism that we've never seen before in Canada since Mr. Trump started attacking and threatening Canada. Even in Quebec, I mean, people are, supporting Mr. Carney like I've never seen a federal liberal government getting support in Quebec like that. I mean, he's at 42% in the polls in Quebec, while some Quebecers are thinking of electing the Parti Québécois to power. So there's a big paradox there. But it's because they trust Mr. Carney to do the job. And also, there are, making sure that there's some showing some solidarity there with the federal government to do the right thing to defend Canada's interests, Canada's economy, and Canada's businesses. So that's a key element. But it's going to be a rough ride. And I would say that I think we need to get into the sort of a COVID-19 mindset. Focus on the goal all the way till we reach that goal, and then we can celebrate. But until then, we should prepare for some turbulent times.
I think Joel is absolutely correct about that. And I guess the qualification I would put in is that the government needs to be absolutely candid with Canadians, not simply about Trump, but about the other issues that predated Trump. Our lagging productivity, for example, the problem we have with growing debt and so on. I keep on thinking back to the Blitz in Britain. What Winston Churchill promised was blood, sweat, toil and tears. He didn't say the Germans are about to invade, but not really anything to worry about here. We got you covered. It was because of his candor with ordinary citizens that he was able to pull the country together. The one thing that worries me is I don't think that the government has done enough to level with Canadians about how serious the challenges are, both the systemic ones that predated Trump and the problems caused by Trump in the short term. Trump didn't create our lagging productivity, for example, or our failure to build infrastructure, or the regulatory sclerosis that we suffer from in Canada, where business makes a decision by simply walking away from its investment because it can't get an answer. That all predated Trump. Trump is exploiting that, and he's exacerbating it. And we need to address those fundamental issues. What worries me is that I don't think there's been a sufficiently candid conversation so far. And I think that the government has also been tempted to simply, where there's a challenge, to get out the credit card and try to buy our way out of the challenge. We can't do that. We can't spend and just send the bill to our kids.
Do you ever remember, Perrin, in your time, or even JD, you obviously your experience in Ottawa and with governments, not just in Canada, but around the world. You ever remember a leader of a party, or a party in particular, having so much support and yet not being able to solve the biggest problem of the day?
I can't think of anything outside of wartime that's analogous to the situation we're in today. And the worry for me that, I am very hopeful for Mark Carney. I think his analysis is correct about what we need to do, that we can't we can't drive into the future with our eyes fixed on the rearview mirror, assuming that things are going to be the way they used to be. They're not. And we have to make fundamental change. The worry that I have is twofold. The first is that to maintain the consensus that exists today, he has to be utterly, brutally candid with Canadians about the scope of the problems. And the other is that he's going to have to be able to demonstrate that this is having an impact, that that the change is taking place. And that means actually taking decisions, particularly as it relates to spending, which will be exceptionally painful. But you cannot square the circle of continuing to spend more. And how do we? Joel-Denis, the expert here, he's the one who's plugged in every day. But we're going to 5% of GDP on defense, and I applaud that. That's a good thing. How do we square that with the programs that we have, the size of the deficit today, and the growing national debt, and the contingent liabilities that we have on everything from potential Indigenous claims to environmental liabilities? There's going to be a collision here.
Yeah, JD, and then
in terms of financing.
We're going to take a break after this.
And Mr. Beatty is making a great point. I mean, we spent when Justin Trudeau was in power, we spent billions and billions enlarging the safety net while not paying attention to the creation of wealth. Now we see the focus that is reversed, trying to focus on the creation of wealth. That's the mission that Mr. Carney is trying to achieve, but it's going to take a while. And I agree with his assessment that we need to be brutally frank about the nature of the task ahead. And I would argue that maybe he should apply the same approach that he did to the military. He explained to Canadians why we needed to do what we're doing right now, which is investing heavily in security and the national defense. Why don't use that approach also to the economy? Same. It took 12 months to do a U-turn on the military. We need to do the same thing on the economy and to increase productivity, have a tax reform that could bolster the business confidence and investment in Canada.
All right, we're going to take a quick break to hear from our partners and sponsors and be right back on the other side of this break with Perrin Beatty and JD Bellavance.
The Waterloo Regional Health Network Foundation is innovating healthcare every day in the Waterloo region. It is our collective responsibility to support our hospitals so that they can have the equipment necessary, not only to care for us, but to inspire the best and brightest healthcare minds to come and make a home right here in the Waterloo region. You may not need them today, but there will be a day when we all do. Reach deep if you can and give generously.
This segment of Business to Business is sponsored by the Workplace and Immigrant Network of Waterloo Region, a project by the Workforce Planning Board of Waterloo, Wellington and Dufferin, bringing employers and employees together.
Welcome back to Business on B2BWR.ca, powered by the Waterloo Region Health Network Foundation. We are joined, as promised, we continue to be joined by JD Bellavance, the Ottawa Bureau Chief for LaPresse, and Perrin Beatty, who is not only our former boss at the as CEO of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, but also the co-chair of the expert group on Canada-U.S. relations. No one better as a group to come and make some observations to us about what comes next. Gregory, and the report that was released this week is a good place to start that Perrin and the group released.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Perrin, I can remember you and I having a discussion a long time ago when the Canadian government knitted the deal together with the European Union, the CETA agreement, the Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement with Europe. Both of us, a sigh of relief saying, wow, really 550 million people at the time, now, free trading customers with Canada, a broad scope kind of trade agreement where it allowed labor as well through the process, and really kind of drove the talks to the new Kuzma agreement that also has some of that in it. But we never took up the banner with that as Canadian businesses. We never really jumped in and said, where can we benefit? Where can we strengthen our own company? But where can we develop those partnerships? Now, with the whole idea of the middle powers in the world, and that would include all of the countries in the European Union, that would include Australia, New Zealand, and of course Canada, now taking up this banner of saying, look, we need to look in the mirror and see how we can help one another rather than relying on the big superpowers of the world to create our economic success. This new report that your group has brought out, the Canada-US expert group, how is that framing the whole strength of, from an economic perspective, with the middle power countries that are involved?
Greg, you'll remember that back in January in Davos, the Prime Minister made his speech, which attracted an enormous amount of international attention, where he said the old order, in essence, is gone, and that middle powers have to come together to protect their interests. It was striking to me. I don't know, Joel-Denis, whether you had the same experience, but when I was talking to people from other countries, they would always mention this first, and we were so impressed with this, and he's absolutely bang on. What you didn't hear from them is saying, yeah, and I want to know where we sign on as part of the coalition. People didn't want to stick their heads up above the parapet.
Yeah.
And what you had when Donald Trump came into office was every leader rushing to Washington to sign a separate peace. All of them believed that they would have the special relationship. You remember Keir Starmer coming from Britain saying, I have an invitation here from King Charles. Yeah. Feeling that would flatter Donald Trump. He was sort of, okay, I'll take the invitation. Now, Keir, go away. Yeah. What we've seen, particularly with Trump's insistence earlier this year that he was prepared to use the military to seize Greenland from Denmark, was an awareness on the part of particularly the Europeans that the United States has become a very unreliable partner, and that you can't sign a separate peace. We've seen with the misadventure in Iran that was unilaterally decided by Donald Trump, but for which all of us are paying, that he has no interest in partnership there, but he has an interest in damaging NATO or in taking retaliatory action against people who had been his closest partners. So what you're getting now is around the world, both in business and in government, people coming to the awareness that it's not business as usual anymore. We have to look for other things to do. And when Mark Carney talked about the coalition, this was a good thing. But governments can sign memoranda of understanding, but it's only business that can make this happen on the economic side. It's the written contracts, the signed contracts. It's the incorporating yourself into supply chains. It's the putting in place the infrastructure, both social and economic and physical infrastructure to get your products to market that makes the difference. And so what we're doing is calling on the Canadian business community to do its part, to come together, to identify. And in our report, we listed 5 key areas that where Canada would have a competitive advantage, but saying we've got to act on this now. It's not up to the government. Business has to do its part, working closely with government. And if we don't do that, it won't happen.
JD, is the government talking that same tune? Because we hear everything that the Prime Minister is out doing, knitting deals, but we don't see much of it being related back to individual businesses or giving the signal to business, you need to jump on this train along with us.
We haven't heard that much type of speech, and I think it's overdue. And I think it should be done by one key minister that I have in mind, which is a minister that has, been carrying a big load on his shoulders, and it's Tim Hutchins, the Minister of Natural Resources. Because when he speaks, he says out loud what Mr. Carney thinks about, he has in mind. And he's a very impressive minister. And already you've seen he knows exactly what kind of piece of the puzzle that needs to be put together so that it works. So I think he will have to take more of a role to promote, or encourage businesses to do what Mr. Beatty's talking about. And I want to commend Mr. Beatty for his report, because I think he's absolutely right. Political leaders can only do too much to carry the weight, but business leaders have to follow, and in the same way, because they make the decision to invest or not in some countries. But I think we've reached a critical, pivotal moment this summer in terms of dealing with Europe, when the Prime Minister announced that Canada would buy submarines from TKMS, a German company with Norway. This was a pivotal moment, because Canada will be part of the big operations to build submarines. We'll get some benefits, but also that is leading to other investments. And I'll give you an example that is very fascinating. Germany has signed a deal to buy, I think it's 2 billion tons of liquefied natural gas from British Columbia. That's Germany that is buying that for the next 20 years, and it's committed to do that. So that's one deal that goes into another deals, and the German companies are also interested in investing in solar, renewable energy in Canada, hydrogen, also space agency investments. So there will be more, aerospace development. So there will be a multiplying factor, and so that, I think, represents to me a pivotal moment in the relationship between Canada and Europe, but also Canada and Germany. And I'm expecting more deals like that will follow.
Perrin, one of the things, and you're a former national defense minister, industry, and so I wonder about, there's a notion here of, are we buying the F-35s? Are we buying the Gripen? Are we going to have a mixed fleet? I mean, we're holding off, trying not to provoke, if such a thing is possible, Donald Trump. But every one of those, and I think this is where you draw the connection of, are we being honest with people saying we're spending 5% of GDP on the military, but here's what it means, because there's a lot of domestic benefit to that, as well as national security. I mean, Perrin, having a deal with Gripen where they're going to build planes here and create jobs, high value in the aerospace sector, there's got to have a lot of appeal to it. But boy, will that piss off the Americans. And at what point do we have to make some of those choices and live with the consequences of saying, you want to say you don't need us, we're going to create our own aerospace sector and our own submarine and those things with other partners other than the U.S. I mean, to me, it's like it's a high stakes game of poker of when are you going to make these decisions. How do you kind of view doing some of those public policy pieces around national defense, but it also has a major impact on economic impact for the country?
I think we're there, Ian, and we're at the point where, just in terms of protection of our own sovereignty, we have to not have so many eggs in that one basket. And what we're seeing on the part of the Trump administration is their willingness to use any tool to bully people who've been allies. It was striking in the middle powers coalition that Elbridge Colby, the Undersecretary of War, the perversion of the Defense Department's name, tweeted, and he said, this is all a fiction. The idea of it's a distraction. The idea of a middle powers coalition. You're lucky to be able to buy American stuff, and you should just get in line. Our response should be, surprise, we're not just getting in line, and we're going to look for other partners to work with. And this is it was the critical part of our report as it related to business and the economy, but it applies more broadly as well. Any multinational business doing business in countries around the world where it has where its success is threatened in any particular geography, it hedges and it looks for other ways of taking down the risk. This is what Canada has to do now. We have to do it economically, and we have to do it in terms of defense and security as well.
Yep. I would say that we're heading towards the decision that will make sure that we have a mixed fleet. Some F-35, we're obliged to buy 16. I think that we'll have up to 30, 32 F-35, and the rest will be Gripen. That's what I'm being told privately by key cabinet ministers. Now, when we announce that decision, likely after the midterms, Canada will have consolidated its status as the leader of middle powers, because we will have said no to the US on the F-35 and opted for something that will enhance our sovereignty with a partnership with Europe. And Mr. Beatty is right in saying that the Davis speech marked a pivotal moment in our history, in Canadian as prime ministers. We've never seen a speech like that from a prime minister. And European leaders have been looking at Mr. Carney since then, watching, digesting every word, every decision he makes. This will be a pivotal moment when we make that decision about the Gripen. When it's announced, you can see that it's going to be a big bang in Washington, but also big applause in Europe.
Okay, everybody chime in on this one. We go down this path, and then in 2 years, Donald Trump, the Democrats get elected, things start to settle down. They want to wind back the trade rhetoric, all of that kind of stuff. Would we be making a serious mistake by not continuing our path that we're going right now for the future of Canadian economics? Perrin?
Yes.
I would.
Short answer, yes.
Yeah. And the long answer is yes, yes, and yes. Because we can never be caught, in such a vulnerable position like we have been because of Donald Trump. And I would argue that Donald Trump is making people who will follow him, and the people who will replace him will have the same ideas. Yeah. MAGA is here to stay for a while, and we can't afford to make that serious mistake.
Perrin, back when we were talking about CETA, we talked about this being really a powerful tool for Canadian businesses now. So if we continue down this path and we start building this middle power and these relationships around the world, does Canada win and US loses in the long term?
In the longer term, we can be in a position, if we do things right, if we confront the problems that we have honestly and make the changes that need to be made, our kids can look at Inauguration Day 2025 as the date on which Canada started to become truly independent as a nation. And we should look back. It wasn't our decision to get pushed out of the nest, but we are out. And for the first time, we've been like a kid on a trust fund for so long, where we've relied upon others for our welfare, whether it's our security or our economic health. For the first time, we are taking the responsibility for our own future into our own hands. And there's no more fortunate country in the world than Canada is if we do it right.
Well, I would say the answer to your question is absolutely. We can never go back again, and I think there's a consensus on that. And we can never allow ourselves to go back to be bullied, the way that we have. Listen, we're going to have to leave it there. I know you guys have been very generous with your time. We've been joined by our good friend Joel-Denis Bellavance, the Ottawa Bureau Chief for LaPresse, and Perrin Beatty, the past CEO of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce and the co-chair of the expert group on Canada-US relations.
The Waterloo Regional Health Network Foundation is innovating healthcare every day in the Waterloo region. It is our collective responsibility to support our hospitals so that they can have the equipment necessary, not only to care for us, but to inspire the best and brightest healthcare minds to come and make a home right here in the Waterloo region. You may not need them today, but there will be a day when we all do. Reach deep if you can and give generously.
Welcome back to Business on B2BWR.ca, powered by the Waterloo Region Health Network Foundation. And Greg and I are joined right now by Tyler Reidy, a music therapist at Waterloo Region Health Network. And Greg, this is there's always amazing stories that we've had since we've built our relationship with the Waterloo Regional Health Network Foundation. And this is a kind of really cool story, and glad to share it with our listeners.
Yeah, I'm excited about this, Tyler. It's fascinated me how I guess non-medical procedures can go a long way to helping a patient through, some very difficult times. So what really is music therapy, and how is music used to help patients at RAN?
Yeah, that's a great question. Also, thanks for having me today.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, music therapy it's really an evidence-based clinical profession, which a lot of people don't know. But our goal is really to support a person's development, health, and well-being. And so, as music therapists, we intentionally support patients' goals, whether they're physical, emotional, cognitive, social, or even spiritual. And um, part of that journey is in Canada, anyways, music therapists have to complete a bachelor's or a master's degree in music therapy and a 1,000-hour internship and a certification exam in order to practice. So, um, here at REN, we get to support, I think, over 9 different clinical areas. So, areas such as the NICU, mental health, stroke rehabilitation, pediatrics, palliative care, and various programs within our seniors population as well. And so, it can look very different. It might be playing an instrument, it might be singing, it might be songwriting, and it often looks very different based on the clinical area. So, um, for example, I have the privilege of working in the NICU with the babies and the
Mm,
families, and so I spend a lot of time supporting the baby's neurodevelopment through soothing lullabies, providing kind of bonding activities with parents, and then also sometimes just being there for like really scary procedures. That's something I often do a lot in our pediatric oncology program is provide what we call procedural support music during
mhm.
scary procedures. And then other really remarkable areas we get to support is like the rehab program. So one of our music therapists get to help an individual reclaim or rebuild those functional skills of walking
Mm.
or talking. So
That's fascinating, really. I think it's, we've heard over the years, that you put music into a child's bedroom at night to
Mhm.
help them sleep, and it calms them down. I think we can all say that oftentimes when we're struggling, emotionally or
Yeah.
whatever in life, throwing on some music oftentimes, changes us a little bit. But there is a uniqueness to the program that is at RAND. Why don't you explain what the uniqueness is of the music therapy program at RAND?
Yeah, another good question. Yeah, I feel like, again, I kind of just mentioned the breadth of the program. I mean, we really get to support people from the beginning of life all the way to the end of life. So we get to see people through many walks of life, through different cultures, and just being able to integrate just an individual's relationship to music during like
Mhm.
really painful or fearful experiences in hospital. So, another really important point is that we are entirely donor funded. So, without the community, we wouldn't actually have this program because everything we do is possible as a result of
Mhm.
donations. So, yeah.
Yeah, just on that, you're coming up on August 9th, Sunday, August 9th. The foundation is partnering as part of Kitchener
Mhm.
Blues Fest to have Rock the Ren, which is Rock Waterloo Region Health Network, which is going to be a fundraiser to support the music therapy program.
Mhm.
Um, and when you say donor funded, this is one of those programs that there's no funding from the provincial government.
Mhm.
If the hospital wants to do this, the foundation and thereby the community are the ones that support this kind of a special programming, which is so important for and valued by patients and in that the hospital serves.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit about the program and or the Blues Fest and how that's going to support the program.
Yeah. Yeah. So like you said, Ian, like events that our foundation collaborate with community members are so fantastic because it directly impacts the amount of patient care that we're able to provide. And so I think this is a really cool fundraising opportunity because it's all about music. So it's kind of a
Yeah.
full circle moment and how we're bringing our community together. We're also kind of educating and also bringing awareness to this program. And so being entirely donor funded, having people come to a free concert where they're able to buy these $5 wristbands that go directly to the program, instantly impact. And so the day of as well, myself and another music therapist will be present during the Blues Festival to be present to answer questions or share some stories about what that looks like in the hospital.
That's
And
amazing.
so, yeah, so on Sunday, August the 9th from 12 to 5 p.m., and there'll be the availability for $5 to buy a wristband.
Mhm.
And that all those proceeds are going to go towards supporting the music therapy program at Wren. One last thing before you leave us. Can you share us a story or a time when you've seen music therapy make a difference in someone's care?
Yeah, I feel like I get to see that every day. But one experience that I feel very connected to, I have the privilege of working in palliative care, not only with adults, but also with kids.
Mhm.
And so I do a lot of legacy work with families in those who are going through that grief process. And so I'm able to do what we call heartbeat legacy recordings. And so the foundation has bought me a purchase for our program like heartbeat teddies. And so whether it's a parent who is at the end of their life for a child or a child or an adult, I'm able to record a lullaby or a song over top of the heartbeat of that individual. And so these recordings are often just like really treasured and just such a beautiful reminder of um, yeah, just being able to create memories for those
Yeah.
really challenging times in life.
Well, that's really unique too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And these are these types of programs are the unique things that wouldn't happen without the support of the community
Yeah.
and the Waterloo Region Health Network Foundation working with the community to do things like this, which are so meaningful to right as you say, right across the spectrum of whether they're kids having scary surgery or right through the palliative stage is what an amazing program. Thanks for sharing this with us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, and just a reminder that if you want to support this at Kitchener Blues Fest, for anyone listening, you can. It's called Rock the Wren, and it is a fundraiser in support of the Waterloo Region Health Network Foundation Musical Therapy Program. The free concert is Sunday, August 9th from 12 to 5, and they'll be selling $5 wristbands to support this amazing program. Thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it, Tyler.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we've been joined by Tyler Reidy, a music therapist at the Waterloo Region Health Network Foundation. We'll be back with more on Business to Business on B2BWR.ca, powered by the Waterloo Region Health Network Foundation.
Always great information from our good friends at the Waterloo Regional Health Network Foundation. Well, that's all the time we have for Business to Business this week. I want to remind you, check out our websites, thegreaterkwchamber.com or cambridgechamber.com for all of our upcoming events. You won't want to miss any of them. And of course, stay in touch with B2BWR.ca. That's B, the number 2, BWR.ca for all of our upcoming episodes here on Business to Business, powered by the Waterloo Regional Health Network Foundation.